Hi DP2s. I am doing a quick video for today's lesson to save you some time. So during the last lesson we were focusing on completing the form, which you can find on Manage Back. Excuse me, I need to log in. And once you do that, you can sign up to have a meeting with me where I will look through your TOK exhibition with you and approve your essay title. And we are going to try our best to get this process done by the beginning of next week. But we can meet with some of you during study hall today to wrap that up as well. So if we go into our class, you will notice that there is a message from yesterday. In that, I've identified what you need to do by the end of the week, and you can show me that you've done that by completing this form. So in order to help you once you've completed that form, so you don't need to wait for me, I want to show you some resources on the TOK website. So you're going to click on TOK Essay up here at the top, and then if you scroll down, you will find the step-by-step planning guide that I showed you yesterday. It is important, even though we went over it in class, that you review these points about my role and the instructions for you so that you're familiar with them. And now I want to talk a little bit about the essay. So the essay is a little bit different in TOK than for some of your other subjects. You might be familiar with trying to put together an argument for your other subjects. In TOK, it's more of a journey. So what you're going to do is identify your starting point. That might be a personal experience or something that you've done in your class, and use that to answer your question. So for example, I talked to a student yesterday who was talking about number 5, do we need custodians of knowledge? And that student was going to begin by considering her extended essay, which looked at the lyrics within a specific language and whether or not those lyrics were offensive. So she could answer that question by saying perhaps, yes, we do need custodians of knowledge because the knowledge that young women get from listening to these songs is potentially dangerous. And that would give her a starting point or a jumping off point to discuss the question. And what she would want to do after exploring the answer in her EE in Spanish is think about some other questions that kicks up. So if in the arts, custodians of knowledge can sometimes be helpful, she might ask questions like, well, who is best suited to be a custodian of knowledge? Are custodians of knowledge always necessary or sometimes necessary? If so, what is it about the knowledge process that makes them necessary or not? Maybe she would make a connection to one of her natural sciences classes and say, are custodians of knowledge as necessary in the natural sciences? And then she could take an example from maybe her bio IA and talk about who acts as custodians of knowledge in the natural sciences. For example, the idea of the scientific method, having controlled variables, or going through peer review are all examples of this idea of being a custodian of knowledge. That would provide another jumping off point for her to kick up some new knowledge questions about this idea of custodians in the arts again, or maybe in the sciences. So we organize our TOK essay not around arguments, but through explorations. It is a journey, and your answer at the start of that journey should be different than the answer that you have at the end of the journey. So there are 4 parts to this process, and we looked at these briefly in class, but I'll review them now. The first part is choosing a prompt. And our deadline for that was supposed to be this week. I gave you a little bit more time for this, so we're going to move that to next Tuesday, the 27th. And once you have chosen your prompt and been approved by me, you're going to develop your outline. I want to talk about that process now. The third step is developing your draft, and then I'll give you feedback on that and you finalize your essay. Last year's class did drag this out till February, and this year I wanted to make a change to that and have that due in January based on the experiences of last year's DP2 class that didn't really gain anything by dragging that process out. Also, your mock exams are later this year, and I want to make sure that you wrap up TOK with plenty of time to review for your exams. So, part 1, choose your prompt. You should already have been through this 6 steps. One key point, though, is that in TOK, you're not researching. You're trying to use what you already know well. Once I have approved your prompt through our conversations, you're going to develop your outline, and you can use these 5 steps to help you. First, you want to use the pre-outlined notes. I put in caps, do not skip this step. This is what Einstein said about spending 55 minutes understanding the question and 5 minutes answering it. So if you click on this link, you will find this document. This isn't something that is graded. This is not your outline. This is your pre-outline. And I've added these prompts to help you to think about the kind of things that will help you to be more successful. And you'll notice that it mirrors the process that I just talked to you about, where you are going to answer the question with a new example and then identify 3 or 4 knowledge questions that kicks up. Don't get hung up on knowledge questions here. What you want to do instead is just think about, well, what might the exceptions be? What might different knowers think? What different perspectives might we look at? And if you go through this process on your own, you will be in a good position to use your notes to create this outline. You do not need to use my outline template if you don't want to. If you want to use your own, go for it. But my suggestion would be to use the structure here. I wanted to make the structure simple for you so that you are able to really focus on your content. If you go through these bullet points and these guidelines for words, then that will make it easy for you to develop your ideas. So this task of going from your prompt through your outline is supposed to happen over the next couple weeks, and you should have an outline completed by Monday the 4th of December. The other piece that we need to do is the PPF. Don't worry about that today. We will do that on next TOK lesson, and I'll create a separate video for that. Thank you for listening.